All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as per the Rankin Technical College Application and Website Development, or AWD 1111 database-driven web development class, I'm going through a series of videos that I'm creating based on the PDFs for Mr. Flavio Copes and his website, The Valley of Code. I so far have gone through the HTML. I'm in the HTML handbook. Then I'm going to go through CSS, then JavaScript, then React, then Python, and then Node.js. And I think I'm also going to do the Next.js handbook, but we'll take a look at that one at a later time. So with that said, I'm on page 64 of 74, and it's time to talk a little bit about images. As it says, images are displayed with the image tag. There technically are two things you should always add with an image. Of course, the source, all right, but you should also add an alt tag for alternative text. And the alt tag is used for two different reasons. Reason number one, let's assume that this file that I meant to include here was actually image.jpg, but I accidentally put in image.png instead of JPG. If I had an alt tag there, that alternative text would display on screen. All right. It's also, the alt tag is also used by browsers for the visually impaired because it'll read the text from the alt tag, as these people may or may not be able to actually see the actual image. Now it says you can set the height and width also, and you can, but I would never ever recommend doing it like this. Rather, I would recommend setting up a class or an ID probably for this image and then setting that in the CSS. Now, one of the tags that basically has been added with HTML5 to kind of help with images is the figure tag. All right. As it says, it's another semantic tag that you typically use with an image, and you can then put in a caption with it as well. Now, do you have to do that? Of course you don't have to do that. All right, but it's a nice thing to do. So if I come through here, and just to show you very quickly, let's go into images.google.com. And I don't know, we can use Rankin, that's fine. All right, and I think we already did one of these, so let me grab a different one. Grab a picture of the campus that's in Wentzville. There it is. All right, that's the one I work at. I'm actually up here someplace. So let's, we can either save the image or we can save the image address. The advantage of saving the image is that it is available with me and I don't need an internet connection. The advantage of using the internet address is, you know, it loads it right from the internet, so it's not another resource I have to add. All right, so let me see if I can get this to work. And we'll use the whole gamut here. So in other words, I will grab this and put it in down here. All right. So the source will be images/Rankin Wentzville JPEG. And for here, I'll put Rankin Wentzville campus. And I will also put that in there for the fake caption as well. All right, so let's save that. And let's bring this up. And there you see, Rankin-Wentzville campus. All right. Now, again, as they showed, I could add height and width in here if I really wanted to. All right. But I do want to show you something, and that is this. It's not a trick, but it's something I oftentimes use. And that is when I come in here, where's my test? There it is. Images. When you look right now, this image is 300 by 168. So quite often, if I want to go and change it, so to speak, I'll bring it up like this, and I'll click the resize. Go to pixels, and let's just say I double it to 600. You notice the other one doubles as well, and now it's a little bit bigger. In fact, why didn't I triple it? I don't know. So let's make it 900. All right, that's pretty good. So I'm going to save this. So file, save, let's close. All right, now going back to here, now you'll notice, because this oftentimes happens, I'm going to get this down to 100%. There it is. So that doesn't look too bad. All right, but sometimes when you blow this up, it ends up looking like this, where it starts looking distorted. All right, so just be leery of this little trick, so to speak, that I showed you. All right, but that isn't really, like I said, that isn't too bad. All right, now when you do work with images, there are several different image formats that you can use. There are PNGs, portable network graphic, PNG files. There are JPEGs, which is like joint photographic group or something like that. There are bitmaps, which you typically don't see much of anymore. There are GIFs that, again, typically you don't see that much of anymore. And another one that's kind of being added quite a bit is WebP, which is Google's type of images. All right, so responsive images using source set. It says the source set attribute lets you set responsive images to the browser where you can, depending on the pixel density or window width. So here's an example where we would give 4 additional images for 4 screen sizes. All right. So notice they've got different dogs based on what they have there. So let's look. All right. So they've got what? This is the window width of 500 pixels, 800 pixels, 1,000 pixels, and 1,400 pixels. All right. Let's see if I can do something similar to this. Oh, let's see if I can grab something in here. This looks like it'd be a nice picture to play with, but we'll find out. So I'm going to save the image here, and I'm going to save it as dogs00.jpg. Okay? All right. And this looks like it's 287 by 176. So let's open that up with Paint. And let's resize. And I don't know what this is going to look like. So I'm going to change that to 500. Still looks pretty good. And I'm going to do a file, save as, and I'm going to call this dogs 500W. And again, we want to put it in test, and we want to put it in images. Okay, there's that one. And the next one that was shown in here was, there's 800, 1,000, and 1,400. So let's try 800. Again, it doesn't look too bad. So we'll come in here and we'll, oops, doggone it, I just overwrote what I had. So file, save as, I want this to be dogs 800, not dogs 500. And let's go back and resize this again to 500. And we'll save this as dogs 500 width. Okay, there's that. All right, let's do it one more time. Two more times, actually. And this next one will be 1000. You can already see it's starting to look a little bit distorted, but it'll still work. So File, Save As, and we'll call this dogs 1000 width. And finally, the last one I believe was 1400. All right, so we will do a File, Save As, and this will become dogs 1400W. Okay, so I now have 4 pictures in here. I am going to attempt to do what they're doing in here just to show you what they've got here. So, got this images. And it looks like I want to use this one here. So let's look. Not tried doing this before, so if it fails, you'll see it as soon as I do. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to comment this out with this. Bring that in here. So source equals dog 00 dot, don't know what that was, JPEG, dogs 00 dot JPEG. All right, sizes. So you've got 500. I'm just going to keep what they have up there. All right. So this will now become dogs 500W, dogs 800W, dogs 1000W, and dogs 1400W. Again, this may not work. I don't have any idea if it will or not. All right. Well, it's got here a picture of a dog, so it doesn't like something. Oh, they were JPEGs. Okay. Actually, it was doing exactly what I told it to do. It was showing the alternative text. All right. It still doesn't like something, or else I didn't save it correctly. Save. JPEG alt equals sizes equals max width. So dogs 00.jpg, dogs 500w.jpg, 800w.jpg, 1000 and 1400. Those all look correct. Well, you saw me try it. That didn't work. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Picture tag. Similar to source set, and the differences are subtle. You use picture when instead of just serving a smaller version, you completely want to change it. All right, so they are changing it from here, from a WebP to a JPEG rather. Let's try that one, and we'll have to change these all to JPEGs, of course. So we've got dogs 500. Let me just change all of these real quick. Still isn't showing me anything here. Medium width, 500, 800. It's 500 JPEG. Dogs 800. Well, one more time, let me look at this. Well, it still isn't showing anything. And again, I'm trying not, believe it or not, trying not to waste your time here, but I just want to show you a couple of these things. All right. Let's talk accessibility. Now, years ago, there was something that came up that has been changed since then, or amended, or whatever you want to call it, that was called the Americans for Disability Act, or ADA. I guess there's no "for" in there. The Americans Disability Act. All right? So, compliance, our story, free website accessibility checker. That's interesting. All right, the bottom line is this. What you want to try to do with your website is make it accessible to anyone and everyone. And that should just make sense. Okay? Now, that said, that means that what you want to do is you want to make anyone, regardless of their physical, mental, browser, or whatever situation, be able to see your website. This is really important if you're trying to sell a service. It's also really important the more public your website is. So if you're a government website, etc., pretty much is the law. You're mandated that you have to make your stuff as accessible as possible. And they talk about things like screen readers for people who are visually impaired. And it says web pages and web apps are not always built with accessibility as one of their first goals. And I would say almost always that's the case. All right. So it says here, semantic HTML is very important. It's one of the main things you need to take care of. All right. It says there it's important to use the correct structure for heading tags. You should only have one H1, and all the other ones should be underneath it, etc. Use strong, use M and not B and I. We talked about this before. Lists are important. Screen readers can detect lists. Tables should have a caption tag that always shows the content. I've been trying to show you most of this stuff as we've been working our way through this HTML section. All images must have an alt tag. All right. The role tag, or the role attribute, lets you assign specific roles to the various elements on your page. Some of them are listed right here. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I probably don't do a good enough job of using role, except when I'm using something like Bootstrap. Then I'll have role in there a lot. All right, it says it's a lot, and for a full reference, they give you this MSDN link here. I'm not going to talk about it, okay? So here's an example of a role. Now, I'm not sure why they put it like this, but they say normally in a navigation section, you'd have nav tags. But they say if you were forced, and I don't know what that means with the word forced, to use a div, you could say the role is equal to navigation. Okay, all right. Next, use the tab index attribute. That changes the order when you press the tab key of going around. This becomes really, really important when you're working through a form. All right. And some people are just used to tabbing through stuff to find their way from point A to point B. All right. Then next they're going to talk about ARIA. I heard it pronounced ARIA or just ARIA. And as it says, it's an acronym, and the acronym stands for Accessible Rich Internet Applications. And as mentioned here, it defines the semantic that you can apply to different elements. So, as it says here, you can put in, this is not like a label that you see on a form. This is a label for your paragraph that is explaining what it's about. All right. And there's other ones. I'm not going to sit and read every one of these to you. That would be a waste of your time. But you can take a look at them on here. All right. Now, notice here, because I'm just going to go over a couple more. We're just about finished with this first PDF. And it says here, use ARIA hidden to hide content. And the author says here, I like a minimalistic design in my sites. My blog, for example, is mostly just content. Some things in the sidebar are just visual elements that don't add up to the experience of a person that can't see the page. So, in other words, it's not going to help for him to put his picture of somebody who's looking at it as blind. It's not going to help to have a choice of having a dark background or a light background, again, if somebody is blind. All right, so that's my ending here of this first part. This was 74 pages. I'm going to jump right in and start doing a little bit of work on CSS. But again, it is 100 pages more approximately than the last one. We'll spend some time on some things. Some of the things we've already at least briefly touched on in here. But you'll notice where the other one had like I don't know how many sections. This one has got 20, 30, 40, 45 different sections. I will not finish this today, but hopefully I'll get a good jump on it. All right, so I'll be back with that in just a few minutes.